hello to everyone listening across the globe, and welcome to the new episode of innovative and groundbreaking Talk Sex to Me podcast, sponsored by Emma Sex Store, and it's presented by me, Aida D. For those of you who don't know us yet, our podcast is here to cover a wide range of issues connected to human sexuality, intimacy, connection, and partnerships. And we're doing all of this while eliminating the societal stigma and guilt associated with any sex-related issue that has not yet been totally normalized. But tonight we're going to focus only on what it means to have sex with a total stranger. With us, we have the amazing Court Vox. He is a wonderful sex and intimacy consultant, a surrogate partner intern, and a sacred intimate. He's also the founder of the Court Vox and a member of the World Association of Sex Coaches. He is a guide for a wide range of individuals and couples looking for more in their erotic and intimate lives. I'm super impressed by this. Thank you so much for coming here, Court. I'm super honored to talk to you. And will you please tell our listeners something more about yourself?
Good morning. Well, it's good morning for me. And
Yes.
Thank you so much for that beautiful intro. Well, at the moment, I'm with family in Ojai, California, which is a little bit south of Santa Barbara. It's a beautiful day here, and I'm sitting outside, and I'm really happy to be joining you.
That sounds amazing. You certainly have a better view than me. I'm super envious of that beautiful day that you're in. So I did a lot of research on you. I've been following your work. I have to say that I'm truly impressed. You said on your official website, the Court Vox, that you work with first-timers. And you also provide unique experiences to some of the world's most well-known sex educators who seek you out when they need a professional to work with. I want to know more about your professional background and what sort of assistance or advice do you provide to your clients, or as it turns out, even to your future professional associates?
Yeah, so in terms of working with some of the larger sex educators in this business, is I have to say there's not very many of us doing this. And so when I work with people who are, sex educators who have been doing this for 10, 15 years as clients, it's really a testament to people really wanting to continue their own evolution and their sexuality, their own growth, learning. And so I do work with some better known sex educators, and it's really, a testament to who they are as teachers, that they are wanting to continue their growth, they're wanting to continue their learning. And it's the same for me. I'm continuing to seek out different modalities and different areas where I can grow, not just so I can bring it back to my students and my clients, but for me personally. I am a seeker, and I am someone who is constantly looking for ways to expand and grow. And so that's just another way of doing that, is to seek out people who might be able to facilitate that. In terms of working with beginners, I have worked with clients that have never had sex in their life, right? Mm. And it's a huge honor to work with those people, because it takes a huge amount of trust for that person to come to me and say, you know what, I don't know anything, and I'm a blank slate. I want to learn everything there is. I have a few things that I think I'm interested in, and other than that, take me on this journey. And it's one of those things of, you don't know what you don't know. And so sometimes, it's coming in and saying, like, I know I want to be here. I know there's more for myself. I know I want to grow, and I don't know what that looks like yet. At that point, it's like giving them a menu. Here's all the things that are available to you, all the things that we could try as starting points and explore and be curious about. What piques your interest? Where should we go first?
Okay. How do you somehow gather all of these things on the menu? Which types of sexual activities or fetishes or interests do you provide? Do you tell them, okay, let's try this or let's try that? How do you gather those things?
So I'm a somatic. So I work with the body, and I work with touch and body-based exercises. So, sometimes for people that are new to this work and just new to this period, we might start with a sensate focus exercise. Mm-hmm. that is just touching of the hand so that we can understand directions of touch and so I can have a better understanding of what their lexicon or language is around touch. If I'm touching someone's hand and I say, how does that feel? And they say, that feels good. It's nice. They don't have a very big language to talk about the sensations in their bodies. And so I might spend quite a bit of time there, helping them expand that. And that might look like, this touch feels very sensual. This feels soft. That feels scratchy. Or can I have more pressure, please? Those types of things. Or I noticed the lines in your hand, and I noticed that your nails are very smooth and you have some calluses that feel rough to me. That is like a very simple exercise. It's, when we talk about sex therapy and sex coaching, it really runs the gamut of something that's so simple like this and actually not that sexual, right? But it does feed and help as we get to other things that are a little bit deeper, that things that are a little bit more intense, that we have this shared language with each other, right? And we're discussing boundaries, we're discussing and also feeling what it feels like to ask for what you want just in your hand, right? So that when we go to the arms or the back or the chest or the full body, there already is this rapport with one another. And I've given a language for people to use to be able to guide me better.
Okay. So what are you saying is that the things that are erotic don't necessarily have to be sex. So even touch can be very erotic for someone to truly find something within themselves that they find very sensual in their lives, right?
Yes, I would agree with you. How I define erotic and I define sex are sometimes two different things. I sometimes get clients that come in who are expressing erotically all over their life, except in their sexuality, right? They're very creative in their work. They're artists, they're travelers. They're really, putting their erotic energy, which is this life force energy, into all these areas of their life, except they haven't put it into their sex. And so sometimes it's a matter of how do we take that energy that is known, like it's a familiar energy to them. How do we take that same creativity, that same curiosity and gumption that's there in the rest of their life and put it into their sex? But, for some people, touching their hand is very erotic. And when there's intention behind it, anything can be erotic.
Yes.
If I was at a table with you and I reached over to touch your hand and I, looked at you in a specific way and used intentional words and the way I was touching your hand, that could be a really erotic moment.
I can somehow relate that to the article that I found on the Body Vox site. It's called Erotic Confidence Can Start Outside the Bedroom. And that's something that actually you're talking right now about. So there was this line that I found very fascinating when I was reading the article. Do you mind if I read the line just really quick?
Yes, please remind me too.
Okay. So it goes like this. Erotic confidence can start on the street or at the coffee shop. Practice by complimenting your barista on how much joy their smile brings you, or smile at the bystander on the street. And when they pass, turn to see them look back and just keep walking. It can be just that glimpse of erotic connection that starts to build your confidence over time, all while leaving you feeling buzzed with that little hit of dopamine. So the erotic confidence you're referring to is, as far as I can tell, a highly subjective sense that requires an individual to find it inside themselves, somehow cultivate it. And if this person has a permanent partner, let's say, they must verbalize it to them in order to strengthen their relationship and their sex life. But in the context of sex with strangers, how might this erotic confidence be clarified? How would you explain it?
So I think whether you're in a partnership or not, flirting with other people or even flirting with your own partner is a way to build erotic confidence, right? Of having that feeling of owning your own eroticism, finding someone that you find attractive or that there's something enigmatic about them that really connects to you and, complimenting them or giving them some of your energy, which is that smile or that glimpse in your eye, right? And those things start to build confidence so that when you do get to the bedroom, that you're kind of like, I got this, you're starting to feel in your own body what it feels like to be erotic and to be sexual.
So you're already kind of like prepare for that sexual moment when you are in bed with someone. You were preparing yourself.
I get asked this a lot from clients is I want to be able to walk into any situation and just, feel confident in who I am and what I'm doing with anybody. And as you connect more with your body, you're going to feel everything more, including nervousness, including being excited and joy and grief. And really, as you get connected to your body, though, you start to develop more and more tools to stay with pleasure, to choose routes in your body that are erotic, that feel pleasurable. And so if you get into a situation and, you're like, I'm really nervous here, and you look around and you're like, why am I nervous? Oh, there's dirty pillows on the floor and this place doesn't feel safe enough for me, right? In that instance, you might go, actually, I don't want to stay here. Every part of my body is saying leave. And so it's not overriding, it's actually listening and going, something's not right here. I don't know what it is, and it's just not. And so having that capacity to change your mind, A, and B, I think if that's your pattern of always getting in a situation where you're ready to leave, asking yourself, am I safe enough here? Or is this my pattern telling me that I'm too nervous to stay? And so it's having an awareness, again, being connected to your body. It's not the same as like talking to them online, right? You're in a new space sometimes. The energy from this other person is there. Their energy might be different than it was when you're speaking to them online. And so just like taking a second to sit in your own body and go, do I feel safe enough here? Yes. Okay, check. Can I stay with this discomfort for just a minute to see if there's something pleasurable on the other side? Okay, yes, I can do that. Okay, I'm going to just focus on the sensation in my body and how this person is touching me, how they were reacting to my touch. I was doing this. And really, it's about being present. Like I can presence myself within a minute of being with someone. And it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me, right? Can I find something beautiful, attractive, erotic about the person in front of me? Yes, I can. Can I enjoy the sensations of this person's body in my hands, in my mouth? And I'm talking personal now. I'm not talking business or clients. But can I find something enjoyable, something pleasurable in this other person's body? That's personal work. That's not necessarily, we put a lot of emphasis on the other in all kinds of sex. I'm focused on making sure this person's pleasure. Are they feeling comfortable? Are they having a good time? What do they want, right? It's very outwardly focused. But if you kind of focus the attention back to yourself, do I feel safe enough in my body to stay? Am I enjoying the sensations of this person's body, their breath, their sound, all the things in this room? Am I loving this? Can I love this? And can I stay? I think those are really important questions to ask. And as you start to practice them, they go quicker. You ask those questions in just intuitively, and you stay or you leave within seconds or minutes of being there because you're that attuned to your desire.
So while you are talking about these questions, something comes up to my mind is that when we find ourselves in the situation where we could have sex with a stranger, these questions are actually crucial, I think, because we have to listen to our own body and read the energy of another person, of the place or location that we are in. So these questions could help us decide if this encounter should be positive or negative, and should we proceed with doing this. So I never asked myself these questions, but while we were talking, I figured I should have asked this myself like a long time ago, because they're actually very good. It's somehow people are very often afraid to change their mind, I think. So when we are in a situation where we're already in bed with someone, and if that someone is a complete stranger to us, we're like, well, I can't leave now. So what do I do?
Yeah, and they did a study where they asked sexual trauma survivors who had been in situations where they were raped, where they had the opportunity to leave. They said, why didn't you leave?
Mm-hmm.
And the number one answer they got from women predominantly was, I didn't want to be not polite. I was trying to be polite.
Yes.
And so they said they knew in their body that it was wrong. It just felt wrong. Something about the situation felt wrong, but they didn't want to be rude. And so, like, with that knowledge of our culture of not wanting to be rude or hurt someone else's feelings, like, throw that out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your safety is first, and your well-being. You have to have autonomy over your own body is the most important.
And is this something that you work on with your clients? How do you teach them to love themselves more, to listen to their own energy and their own body and their own minds, telling them what to do and how to behave and how to decide something for themselves?
This is something that we're all born with. And it's something that over time is cultured out of us. I won't get into all the political things that are happening just within the United States around sexuality and women's rights, LGBT rights, that really are aiming to strip people of their sexual rights. Right now, sexuality is such a hot topic. And, somebody the other day said, oh, you're in such a niche market. And I said, sex is niche? Like, everybody in the world has sex. How could sex be niche, right? It's like the top: money, food, sex.
Yes, it's right? Not commercial. It doesn't.
It's not supposed to be commercial. It's everyone does it. Everybody wants it. So it is a relearning. It's a relearning of what's already there, what's already present. The core tenets of somatic sex education and sexological bodywork are breath, movement, sound, and voice and choice. Allowing the body to emote with sound, allowing your body to move in ways that feel organic for you. I'm not talking about traditional dance. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about, how does your body want to move just organically and naturally in erotic space? Do your hips sway? Do your shoulders start to undulate back and forth? Does your jaw drop?
Mm-hmm.
What are the sounds that you make? And I know that sounds like so simple, and because it's been cultured out of us, it feels almost unnatural, right? When you start to do it, like, oh, I'm not used to moving my hips. Yes. I am not used to making sound. I'm used to being quiet. Everybody told me to be quiet, that I'm not supposed to share this.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's supposed to hear me. And so using your voice for a lot of people is really challenging. And even in a space with me where it's a practice space of being able to ask for what you want, and I'm actually encouraging it. I'm like, please tell me what you want. Guide me. It's still hard for people. And in that kind of practice setting is where people go, oh my God, wow, this is really hard for me. Why is this so hard for me to say what I want? And it's this mind-body connection. I work with a lot of people that have been in talk therapy for a really long time, and I'm a huge advocate for talk therapy. I'm a client myself. And I think there is a point where people are like, I've talked about this enough, and I want to have something where some kind of learning where I'm connecting these feelings to and emotions and thoughts with my physical body, because they're not siloed. We're all one thing. It's all together. And so when people have these aha moments in physical exercises, it's because they are connecting an emotion or a feeling or a memory with some kind of physical piece in their body.
So we could say that sexuality is, in all aspects, very connected to our minds, to our personality traits, our emotions. So you being a sex coach, if I may say sex therapist, do you ever find that a lot of sexuality aspects of different people are connected to, like, really directly connected to their personality? Is there anything that kind of divides us? And especially when we're talking about having sex with strangers, do you think whether there is a specific sort of individual who, in a sense, possesses all of these essential predispositions for this type of behavior and expression, and what those patterns could be? Who are these individuals who have sex with strangers? Yes, is there any specific sort or type of person that we might divide to say, okay, this is a type of person that could have sex with stranger, that could have anonymous sex, or this person could never do that? Is there anything distinct between them?
I can't say. I think even people that you would never think could have sex with strangers, they're probably having sex with strangers. I think anybody's capable of having sex with a stranger. I think it's a question of desire, right? Do you want to have sex with a stranger? And some people, it's like, no, I have no desire. I really need to know the person. I need to feel comfortable with them. I need to meet some of them. It's like, I need to meet their family first or a friend so that it feels safe enough for me. I think that's really a personal choice. I think there's a misnomer about sex with strangers, though, in that I think a lot of people think casual sex cannot be intimate, and I fully disagree. I think people have different kind of definitions and views of what intimacy feels like in their body. And when I've done polls, one of the biggest things that people say is their definition of intimacy is connection and closeness. And if that is the case, it is very possible for you to feel and be very close and connected with someone who is a stranger. That's possible. It's possible to have this really beautiful connected session with someone who is a stranger, and also to say goodbye forever, to leave it in that container, to say, thank you so much for this experience. That was incredible. This is what it was. It was a casual sex experience. It doesn't need to be anymore. We as a culture are always kind of looking for things to mean more than they are. When we talked earlier about flirting and kind of building that erotic confidence, those can be like meals in themselves. Just because you flirt with somebody and the barista doesn't mean you're going to go on a date, doesn't mean you're going to have sex, doesn't mean you're going to get married, doesn't mean you're going to have kids.
Yeah.
It could just be that you were flirting with them and it was this really beautiful 5-second, 10-second moment. And same with a casual sex encounter. It doesn't need to be more than what it was, unless you want it to be.
And what if you don't want it to be, but the stranger that we have had sex with do want something more from us? How do we handle this situation?
That's when like interpersonal communication and boundaries come in. If you're the person that's really not wanting it, you might have specific reasons. I'm not looking for anything right now. I'm in school and I'm really focused on school, and this would just be a distraction for me. And it's a no for me.
Okay. So while doing research on anonymous sex or sex with strangers and how other people perceive it, I came across several questions on online forums from people wondering, how do they convince a stranger to have sex with them? And this made me laugh, actually, because while sex is a broad context in which persuasion is rarely used as a method of seduction, when it comes to when it comes to people who are random strangers to us and could be our potential sexual partners, how do we really get to that level of connection that could lead us to end up in bed with them?
You were using the word persuasion. I would use the word seduction. Persuasion has kind of this icky connotation to it. When you talk about seduction, how do you seduce somebody to go to bed with you? It's probably not going to look like going to bed with you right away. It's probably going to look more like seduce someone to talk with you first, seduce someone to have a drink or a coffee, or seduce someone to even have a kiss. What is that kind of energy and kind of reading the room, right? So if somebody is consistently saying, no, I'm not interested, if it's really like a hard pass, it's kind of like, okay, got it. I'm going to take a walk.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's some kind of energy there that's like a flirting back and forth, it's like leaning into that, leaning into the flirtatiousness and being creative with your ask. I think unless you're on like sex apps or dating apps where it's like very clear and upfront what you're looking for is just sex, the game and the chase is really exciting for people because it builds that anticipation. It builds the desire to want to be with someone. I think very rarely is it like, you want to go have sex? Yeah, I want to go. Let's go. Like,
Yes.
it's kind of like, it's very rare that happens. And I think, a lot of people would be like, I don't want that. It's just it's too dry. It doesn't allow you or your body to kind of like get into that space of like, yeah, I could get into it with this person. This person feels fun and flirty and sexy, and I'm feeling my body start to warm up and be excited. And, so there is that time period where it's just a little bit of a warm up.
Like a foreplay, let's say.
Yeah. And foreplay, kind of redefining foreplay. Foreplay you don't have to be naked in foreplay.
Mm-hmm.
Foreplay can look like really sexy banter between one another, can look like, soft caresses or gentle kisses, could be making out. I think we often define foreplay as cunnilingus and blowjobs. It doesn't have to be that. It's really about awakening the senses. And I like to say the biggest sex organ in the body is the brain.
That is beautifully said. I agree. So I do have a question. I'd like to ask if you have a personal life experience where you have had sex with a stranger that you could share with us tonight, or if you could discuss some of your previous clients' experiences, of course, under like strict confidentiality. We just want to hear like a true and authentic experience for those people who still have to partake in it.
So I'll just say in general, when I have casual sex or when I've had casual sex, I prefer to host. I like to control the environment that I'm in, and I feel more safe and I feel more confident when I'm in my own space. That's just me personally. I have gone to other people's homes or apartments, and it's always a little bit more nerve-wracking, right? Because I'm entering into a space that I don't know, that I'm unfamiliar with, as well as this person. And so I prefer to host in my own apartment or my own hotel, wherever I am. And I would say how I decide, right? Because I consider myself the person who's making the decision whether I want to be with this person or not. It's really about, and this is just for me personally, does this person make me smile? Does this person have enough of a witty banter that like gets me turned on in my brain, right? Does that turn me on? And also, like, do I feel something in my genitals for them? Does it feel hot down there? And does that translate into the rest of my body? Those are kind of like things that are happening somatically with me. Does this person spark joy for me? Do they spark hotness and warmth in my genitals? And do I feel safe enough to invite them over? I would say the most people that I interact with casually come from online interactions. And I think, online platforms have shadow sides. And I think that there's also like a silver lining to them, which is you have all this opportunity to create your boundaries and set intentions and desires before you even meet them in person, right? And those are up for change, right? Obviously, things change when you meet somebody. And what you can say is, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to have penetrative sex. I want to have just roll around and make out. So you get to create your own boundaries for that.
So given your experience, or many of them, what do you think, what are the main like benefits and what are the drawbacks of hookups and of sex with strangers? What are the negative and positive sides of it?
For some people, casual sex is a way to blow off steam. It's a way to get off. It's a way to scratch an itch. And then for other people, casual sex can be something that really satiates something, deep in their soul, right? I don't think you can define what it is as a blanket response to everyone, because we're all so different. I think one of the things I hear a lot from my friends, just in terms of casual sex, is that they spend all this time hunting or procuring the right sexual partner for this hookup. Then they get there and they just want it to end as quickly as possible. What needs to happen there, or potentially the question, is more of an inquiry for yourself of, why am I doing this? Like, what is this fulfilling in me? Sometimes when I chat with people about that, really the chatting piece is a meal on its own. Again, like just the sexy banter, the anticipation can really be enough. But I think it's like saying to people that you're chatting with, hey, I'm just chatting. If you're open to that, great. If not, I'm not looking to have sex right now. But also, really allowing yourself to understand what you're getting into, so that when you are making that choice, you're like fully in. You're like, this is a fuck yes for me. I'm into this person. I, am really wanting that connection, being with that person right now, or I really just have an itch I need to scratch.
Okay, and the contrary to that, what if we feel regret or remorse over what happened the night before?
Oh, yes, that one. I think there's also inquiry and learning in that. In the West in particular, we have this very pass fail of looking at things. If we can reframe a little bit and say, that wasn't exactly what I wanted. Why? What didn't I get from that I was wanting? And really asking those deep questions. What could I have done differently? Or how could this have gone differently for me to have gotten what I wanted? And getting really clear on that, so that the next time you do it, you can go, okay, this is how I want to do things differently. It's like collecting data, right, for a project and going, yeah, this worked really well and this didn't work so well. And next time I'd like to feel differently when I leave. And how can I set myself up for that?
So given your past professional experience, which you obviously have a lot of, do you have any professional advice for people who yet have to experience this having sex with strangers? What are the most important things to know? What to avoid? How to protect themselves?
I'm just going to say safety is the key component for all of this, because safety is a thing. There's a risk involved with having any kind of meeting with a stranger, let alone an intimate and sexual one. Mm-hmm. And so, doing your due diligence, can you find this person online, right? If you do a search and they're not on Facebook and they're not on LinkedIn and they're not on Instagram, for me, that's a red flag. I'm like, who is this person I'm meeting, right? And, maybe you meet with them in a cafe first and kind of feel out their energy before you move somewhere else. I think it really is a really personal thing, but those would be, safety being the first and foremost thing, because if you're not feeling safe enough, you're not going to allow yourself to sink in to the possibility that's there. You're always going to be having this hypervigilance of what could go wrong? Where am I? Am I safe enough here? And when you're in those spaces in your head, you're not in your body. You're not focused on the pleasure that you're giving and receiving.
Okay.
You might ask yourself, what's important to me? Is the location important to me of where this is happening? Or do I care? If this person's house is clean? If you're a really neat person and that really, mood sets the tone for you, you might want to host at your house and light candles and create a sensual space for yourself. And if it doesn't matter for you, then going to their house might be an option as well. But I can't stress the safety piece enough, especially for women going into this space with another human, is doing your due diligence and also really listening to your gut, creating a space in between that initial interaction and then meeting them, especially if you're meeting somebody online, to meet in a public place first and really listen to your gut instinct.
Yeah, this was very inspiring. Thank you very much, Court. You have been amazing guest and super kind. We are coming to the end of this episode. I want to thank you so much for being our guest tonight and for being so open and detailed in your explanations and attitudes towards overall hookup culture and having sex with strangers.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And for our listeners out there, thank you for listening to us. And please don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram accounts, as well as on our official website, emmasexstore.com. And please read through our blog, since you never know what the next topic might be or when you could be our next guest. This was your girl, Aida D. Thank you all, and we'll talk about sex again very, very soon.